Firearms is certainly a hot-button topic here in the U.S., and while most people who chime into the conversation claim to be experts on the issue, many are quite unfamiliar with the topic itself, even on a general level. What I would like to do today is take a few minutes to discuss the topic of cartridges, their origin, evolution, and what makes each successive rendition unique, just to give people some information they may not have known previously. In the early days of firearms technology, stretching back to the 13th century, most firearms were loaded through the muzzle, or the open end of the barrel, often loaded with a charge of loose powder, a round ball, or conical bullet, and finally a paper or cotton wad to cover the charge, all firmly seated to the closed breech of the barrel. A small charge of fine powder was then placed in the priming pan for earlier matchlock, wheel lock, and flintlock systems, or a priming cap was placed in what was then called the nipple for later percussion systems. After this procedure was completed, the weapon can then be discharged. Sometime later, first seen around the turn of the 17th century, the cartridge was invented, often constructed using a piece of paper which contained the powder and ball in a single package, which would allow the user to simply carry a box of ready-to-use cartridges instead of carrying several different flasks of powder, a bag of lead balls, and a pouch of cotton patches or primers. While revolutionary in its own right, these early cartridges were fragile and unreliable as damp conditions could often seep into the paper, effectively making the powder charge inert. Sometime later, around the beginning of the 19th century, the self-contained cartridge was invented. This system placed the powder and bullet in a single sealed case, usually made of paper or cured animal intestine, that had been soaked in potassium nitrate in order to make the casing flammable. Only a few decades later, around the mid-19th century, the metallic cartridge was invented. This was revolutionary at its time, and nations all across the globe raced to get their hands on this new technology. These metallic cartridges kept the same basic principle of the earlier paper designs, but were better in that they contained the powder charge, bullet, and primer in a single casing. Simple, robust, and offering protection from the elements and most forms of physical damage, this invention quite literally set the mold for future designs, and would pave the way for more modern single-shot and repeating weapons in the years to come. While the basic design of the self-contained metallic cartridge has remained virtually unchanged for more than a century, with only a few minor changes in powder, bullet design, and ignition systems, the ever-restless mind of human inventors has experimented with more modern cartridges. What is commonly referred to as caseless ammunition is a relatively modern design which contains the primer and bullet in a single solid block of powder, with no need for a metallic case to enclose it all, allowing for a clean, albeit complex, operating system that would, in theory, eliminate the threat of cartridge jams. And while the few weapons that use this new munition system are still in prototype stage and caseless ammunition is far from perfected, it wouldn't surprise me that in 50 years' time metallic cases will be old hat, and this new, caseless form of cartridge will be the premier of firearms technology.